Hey, what's going on, Venture students? And man, we're continuing in our series today that's called Why. Have you ever asked that question? Like, why? Why has this happened? What is going on? And you can't seem to figure out like why life has thrown you some curveballs. Well, that's what the book of Job is all about. And honestly, one of our goals with Venture students and one of our goals at Venture Church altogether is to help lay a foundation for you to walk on in life. Are you tracking with me? Because life is going to throw you curveballs. And if all we do is talk about a bunch of random stuff, we're not giving you a foundation to walk on. And so when life throws you a curveball, just like it's thrown Job a curveball, we're trying to build this foundation for you to be able to walk on some truths to navigate this season. And so I want to ask you a question to get this kicked off. And my question is this, have you ever been caught off guard? Like, has there just been a moment where all of a sudden something happened and you were completely caught off guard? You get a random phone call and someone says, "Hey, can you believe that this happened?" And it just kind of caught you by surprise. And you didn't know what to say, you didn't know what to do. Man, in my life, there have been so many times that I've been caught off guard. And so my question to you is this, yes, we've all been caught off guard, where you've received the phone call that, maybe a granddad or someone got sick, or grandma, or maybe it's been your parents, or which has been the story of my life. And you just or someone broke up with you. I mean, that'll catch you off guard. And so what do you do when things are uncertain? What do you do when you've been caught off guard? And that's what Job's having to figure out. Well, here's the first big takeaway for us today is when life is uncertain, focus on what is certain. Are you with me? So when life is crazy, focus on what is true. And so just a couple of things real quick is one is God. Focus on God. And I think we get that, right? Because he's unchanging. It's called the immutability of God. Like, God does not change. So focus on God. Well, maybe you're at a place right now where you're just like, Timmy, I just don't know if I can trust God. Like, this has happened in my life. I'm asking a lot of questions. And so, well, if that's you, then the other thing that's true is the Word of God. Like, the Word of God has stood the test of time. There have been so many different people try to disprove the Word of God, and they couldn't. And so here's the thing. Stay with me, because you got God and the Word of God, but this one's going to catch you off guard, and this is the one we're talking about today, is when life is uncertain, you focus on what is certain, which is God, the Word of God, and are you ready? Your truest biblical friends. And you might be thinking, well, what are you talking about? No, like, in uncertainty, we need to have people that surround us. It's called who's sitting at your table. Like, who are your closest friends that when life throws you a curveball that you can talk to? Like, who are they? And think about this. Is anybody like boxing? Are you a boxer? Have you ever watched UFC fights or anything like that? What is the worst situation to be in if you're a boxer? Well, the worst situation to be in is when you're backed into a corner. You're kind of like backed into the corner and the guy's just like, you know what I mean? Just going to town and you can't do anything. Well, that's a very good example of what it looks like to when life throws us a curveball and we don't have anybody sitting at our table. We don't have anybody that we can talk to. It's just like the enemy can have a heyday with us. And so I want you to see this, because the book of Job is about pain and suffering and hurt and, man, how to navigate that. But in the book of Job, there's an amazing storyline of some friends. And so I want us to pick up in Job chapter 2, starting in verse 11. It says, when Job's three friends, you catching it? When Job's three friends, Eliphaz, Bildad, and Zophar, heard of all the troubles that had come upon him, they set out from their homes and met together by agreement to go and sympathize and to comfort Job. And when they saw Job from a distance, they wept aloud and they tore their robes and they sprinkled dust on their head. And then they sat on the ground with him for 7 days and 7 nights. And no one said a word to him because they saw how great his suffering was. And so in the book of Job, in all of Job's hurt and pain, guess what? 3 friends. Job had 3 friends that were sitting at his table that came to be with him, that came to comfort him, that came to just walk through and journey through this life with him. And so when I ask you to question who's sitting at your table, who comes to mind? What type of characteristics do they have? And what are you looking for in friends? And I want to give you kind of just 2 big ideas. Is you want a friend, like biblical friends are invested. You want someone that's invested in your life. You know what I mean? Like someone that's willing to sacrifice time, someone that's willing to sacrifice energy and effort to journey through life with you, someone that you can be honest with and real with. And that's what it takes to be a good friend. You know, social media, if I can just be honest with us today, social media is distorted what it looks like to be a good friend, to be a biblical friend. Because how many times on social media or across like a text message have you heard, hey, I'm lifting you up? And that's what friendship has come to nowadays, is a like or, you know, a little comment like, hey, you looking good out there on the beach. You know what I mean? Just little likes and little comments and, hey, I'm lifting you up. Well, here's the thing, is we don't need people just to lift us up. You need a friend that's actually going to show up and to sit with you just like they did and to talk with you and to help you. And so you got to ask this hard question is, man, do you have a real biblical friend in your life that's invested in you and that you're invested in them? The second thing is this, is biblical friends, they're honest. Someone that you can look eyeball to eyeball and you can share some of the things that you're dealing with, some of the pains, some of the struggles, some of the thoughts, some of the doubts that are rolling through your head and your heart, someone that you can share those things with. And do you have that? Like, is there someone in your life that you can look at and say, man, I am struggling and I need your prayers? Because it's essential for us to have that. But here's the thing I want to kind of chip away at real quick, is because in life, you know what humanity's greatest fear is? My greatest fear, and probably your greatest fear, is the fear of being exposed. Are you tracking with me? Like, it's the fear that if they knew, like your friends, if they knew what you struggled with, or they knew the thoughts that you had in your head, like if they actually knew that and knew the real you, you're so afraid that they're not going to love you. And here's the truth of the gospel is that you're already exposed before God, because He knows everything about you. He fully knows you and fully loves you. And that's the beauty of the gospel. And that's where we got to get on friendship, is to where we can have some people that are sitting at our table, some friends that they fully know you. Now, I'm not talking about just know the person that you want them to know, but they know you and all of your struggles and all of your pain and all of your hurt. Like, they fully know you and fully love you. Those are the people you want sitting at your table. And so the story of Job is a story of pain and hurt and suffering and those type things, but it's also a story of friends. And now Job's friends had some crazy ideas, crazy theology that we didn't even get into, but they showed up because they were real friends. And so my question as we close is, who is sitting at your table?